The African wild dog, also called the painted dog or Cape hunting dog, is a wild canine which is a native species to sub-Saharan Africa. It is the largest wild canine in Africa and the only extant member of the genus Lycaon, which is distinguished from Canis by dentition, highly specialized for a hypercarnivorous diet, and by a lack of dewclaws. It is estimated that about 6,600 adults, including 1,400 mature individuals, live in 39 subpopulations that are all threatened by habitat fragmentation, human persecution, and outbreaks of disease. As the largest subpopulation probably comprises fewer than 250 individuals, the African wild dog has been listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List since 1990. The species is a specialized diurnal hunter of antelopes, which it catches by chasing them to exhaustion. Its natural enemies are lions and spotted hyenas. The former will kill the dogs where possible, whilst hyenas are frequent kleptoparasites. Like other canids, the African wild dog regurgitates food for its young, but also extends this action to adults, as a central part of the pack's social life. The young are allowed to feed first on carcasses. The African wild dog has been respected in several hunter-gatherer societies, particularly those of the Sand People and prehistoric Egypt. The African wild dog possesses the most specialized adaptations among the canids for coat color, diet, and for pursuing its prey through its running ability. It possesses a graceful skeleton, and the loss of the first digit on its forefeet increases its stride and speed. This adaptation allows it to pursue prey across open plains for long distances. The teeth are generally carnassial-shaped, and its premolars are the largest relative to body size of any living carnivoran except for the spotted hyena. On the lower carnassials, the talonid has evolved to become a cutting blade for flesh slicing, with a reduction or loss of the post-carnassial molars. This adaptation also occurs in two other hypercarnivores, the dhole and the bush dog. The African wild dog exhibits one of the most varied coat colors among the mammals. Individuals differ in patterns and colors, indicating a diversity of the underlying genes. The purpose of these coat patterns may be an adaptation for communication, concealment, or temperature regulation. In 2019, a study indicated that the Lycaon lineage diverged from Quan and Canis 1.7 million years ago through the suite of adaptations, and these occurred at the same time as large ungulates diversified. The African wild dog genetically diverged from other canid lineages between 1.74 to 1.7 million years ago and is thought to be isolated from gene transfer with other canid species. The African wild dog is the bulkiest and most solidly built of African canids. The species stands 60 to 75 centimeters in shoulder height, measures 71 to 112 centimeters in head and body length, and has a tail length of 29 to 41 centimeters. Body weight of adults ranges from 18 to 36 kilograms. On average, dogs from East Africa weigh around 20 to 25 kilograms, while in southern Africa, males reportedly weighed a mean of 32.7 kilograms and females a mean of 24.5 kilograms. By body mass, they are only outsized amongst other extant canids by the gray wolf species complex. Females are generally 3 to 7% smaller than males. Compared to members of the genus Canis, the African wild dog is comparatively lean and tall, with outsized ears and lacking dewclaws. The middle two toe pads are usually fused. Its dentition also differs from that of Canis by the degeneration of the last lower molar, the narrowness of the canines, and proportionately large premolars, which are the largest relative to body size of any carnivore other than hyenas. The heel of the lower carnassial M1 is crested with a single, blade-like cusp, which enhances the shearing capacity of the teeth, thus the speed at which prey can be consumed. This feature, termed trenchant heel, is shared with two other canids, the Asian dhole and the South American bush dog. The skull is relatively shorter and broader than those of other canids. The fur of the African wild dog differs significantly from that of other canids, consisting entirely of stiff bristle hairs with no underfur. It gradually loses its fur as it ages, with older individuals being almost naked. Color variation is extreme and may serve in visual identification, as African wild dogs can recognize each other at distances of 50 to 100 meters. Some geographic variation is seen in coat color, with northeastern African specimens tending to be predominantly black with small white and yellow patches, while southern African ones are more brightly colored, sporting a mix of brown, black and white coats. Much of the species' coat patterning occurs on the trunk and legs. Little variation in facial markings occurs, with the muzzle being black, gradually shading into brown on the cheeks and forehead. A black line extends up the forehead, turning blackish-brown on the back of the ears. A few specimens sport a brown teardrop-shaped mark below the eyes. The back of the head and neck are either brown or yellow. A white patch occasionally occurs behind the forelegs, with some specimens having completely white forelegs, chests and throats. The tail is usually white at the tip, black in the middle and brown at the base. Some specimens lack the white tip entirely, or may have black fur below the white tip. These coat patterns can be asymmetrical, with the left side of the body often having different markings from that of the right. The African wild dog has very strong social bonds, stronger than those of sympatric lions and spotted hyenas, thus, solitary living and hunting are extremely rare in the species. It lives in permanent packs consisting of 2 to 27 adults and yearling pups. The typical pack size in Kruger National Park and the Masai Mara is 4 or 5 adults, while packs in Moremi and Silas contain 8 or 9. However, larger packs have been observed and temporary aggregations of hundreds of individuals may have gathered in response to the seasonal migration of vast springbok herds in southern Africa. Males and females have separate dominance hierarchies, with the latter usually being led by the oldest female. Males may be led by the oldest male, but these can be supplanted by younger specimens, thus, some packs may contain elderly male former pack leaders. The dominant pair typically monopolizes breeding. The species differs from most other social species in that males remain in the natal pack, while females disperse. Furthermore, males in any given pack tend to outnumber female 3 for 1. Dispersing females join other packs and evict some of the resident females related to the other pack members, thus preventing inbreeding and allowing the evicted individuals to find new packs of their own and breed. Males rarely disperse, and when they do, they are invariably rejected by other packs already containing males. Although arguably the most social canid, the species lacks the elaborate facial expressions and body language found in the gray wolf, likely because of the African wild dog's less hierarchical social structure. Furthermore, while elaborate facial expressions are important for wolves in re-establishing bonds after long periods of separation from their family groups, they are not as necessary to African wild dogs, which remain together for much longer periods. African wild dog populations in East Africa appear to have no fixed breeding season, whereas those in southern Africa usually breed during the April to July period. During estrus, the female is closely accompanied by a single male, which keeps other members of the same sex at bay. The copulatory tie characteristic of mating in most canids has been reported to be absent or very brief in African wild dog, possibly an adaptation to the prevalence of larger predators in its environment. The gestation period lasts 69 to 73 days, with the interval between each pregnancy being 12 to 14 months typically. The African wild dog produces more pups than any other canid, with litters containing around 6 to 16 pups, with an average of 10, thus indicating that a single female can produce enough young to form a new pack every year. Because the amount of food necessary to feed more than 2 litters would be impossible to acquire by the average pack, breeding is strictly limited to the dominant female, which may kill the pups of subordinates. After giving birth, the mother stays close to the pups in the den, while the rest of the pack hunts. She typically drives away pack members approaching the pups until the latter are old enough to eat solid food at 3 to 4 weeks of age. The pups leave the den around the age of 3 weeks and are suckled outside. The pups are weaned at the age of 5 weeks, when they are fed regurgitated meat by the other pack members. By 7 weeks, the pups begin to take on an adult appearance, with noticeable lengthening in the legs, muzzle, and ears. Once the pups reach the age of 8 to 10 weeks, the pack abandons the den and the young follow the adults during hunts. The youngest pack members are permitted to eat first on kills, a privilege which ends once they become yearlings. Packs of African wild dogs have a high ratio of males to females. This is a consequence of the males mostly staying with the pack whilst female offspring disperse, and is supported by a changing sex ratio in consecutive litters. Those born to maiden females contain a higher proportion of males, second litters are half and half, and subsequent litters are biased towards females, with this trend increasing as females get older. As a result, the earlier litters provide stable hunters, whilst the higher ratio of dispersals amongst the females stops a pack from getting too big. African wild dog populations in the Okavango Delta have been observed rallying before they set out to hunt. Not every rally results in a departure, but departure becomes more likely when more individual dogs sneeze. These sneezes are characterized by a short, sharp exhale through the nostrils. When members of dominant mating pairs sneeze first, the group is much more likely to depart. If a dominant dog initiates, around 3 sneezes guarantee departure. When less dominant dogs sneeze first, if enough others also sneeze, then the group will go hunting. Researchers assert that wild dogs in Botswana use a specific vocalization, the sneeze, along with a variable quorum response mechanism in the decision-making process, to go hunting at a particular moment. Because the African wild dog largely exists in fragmented, small populations, its existence is endangered. Inbreeding avoidance by mate selection is characteristic of the species and has important potential consequences for population persistence. Inbreeding is rare within natal packs. Inbreeding behavior may have been selected against evolutionarily because it leads to the expression of recessive deleterious alleles. Computer simulations indicate that all populations continuing to avoid incestuous mating will become extinct within 100 years due to the unavailability of unrelated mates. Thus, the impact of reduced numbers of suitable unrelated mates will likely have a severe demographic impact on the future viability of small wild dog populations. The African wild dog is a specialized pack hunter of common medium-sized antelopes. It and the cheetah are the only primarily diurnal African large predators. The African wild dog hunts by approaching prey silently, then chasing it in a pursuit, clocking it up to 66 km/h for 10 to 60 minutes. The average chase covers some 2 kilometers, during which the prey animal, if large, is repeatedly bitten on the legs, belly, and rump until it stops running, while smaller prey is simply pulled down and torn apart. African wild dogs adjust their hunting strategy to the particular prey species. They will rush at wildebeest to panic the herd and isolate a vulnerable individual, but pursue territorial antelope species, which defend themselves by running in wide circles, by cutting across the arc to foil their escape. Medium-sized prey is often killed in 2 to 5 minutes, whereas larger prey such as wildebeest may take half an hour to pull down. Male wild dogs usually perform the task of grabbing dangerous prey, such as warthogs, by the nose. Hunting success varies with prey type, vegetation cover and pack size, but African wild dogs tend to be very successful, often more than 60% of their chases end in a kill, sometimes up to 90%. Despite their smaller size, they are much more consistently successful than lion, 27 to 30%, and hyena, 25 to 30%, but African wild dogs commonly lose their kills to these two large predators. An analysis of 1,119 chases by a pack of 6 Okavango wild dogs showed that most were short-distance uncoordinated chases, and the individual kill rate was only 15.5%. Because kills are shared, each dog enjoyed an efficient benefit-cost ratio. Small prey such as rodents, hares and birds are hunted singly, with dangerous prey such as cane rats and porcupines being killed with a quick and well-placed bite to avoid injury. Small prey is eaten entirely, while large animals are stripped of their meat and organs, leaving the skin, head, and skeleton intact. The African wild dog is a fast eater, with a pack being able to consume a Thompson's gazelle in 15 minutes. In the wild, the species consumption is 1.2 to 5.9 kilograms per African wild dog a day, with one pack of 17 to 43 individuals in East Africa having been recorded to kill 3 animals per day on average. Unlike most social predators, African wild dogs will regurgitate food for other adults as well as young family members. Pups old enough to eat solid food are given first priority at kills, eating even before the dominant pair. Subordinate adult dogs help feed and protect the pups. The African wild dog is mostly found in savanna and arid zones, generally avoiding forested areas. This preference is likely linked to the animal's hunting habits, which require open areas that do not obstruct vision or impede pursuit. Nevertheless, it will travel through scrub, woodland and montane areas in pursuit of prey. Forest-dwelling populations of African wild dogs have been identified, including one in the Harena Forest, a wet montane forest up to 2,400 meters (7,900 feet) in altitude in the Bale Mountains of Ethiopia. At least one record exists of a pack being sighted on the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. In Zimbabwe, the species has been recorded at altitudes of 1,800 meters (5,900 feet). In Ethiopia, this species has been found at great altitudes. Several live wild dog packs have been sighted at altitudes of from 1,900 to 2,800 m, and a dead individual was found in June 1995 at 4,050 meters (13,290 feet) on the Seneti Plateau. African wild dog pack confronting a spotted hyena in Sabi Sand Game Reserve. Lions dominate African wild dogs and are a major source of mortality for both adults and pups. Population densities of African wild dogs are low in areas where lions are more abundant. One pack reintroduced into Etosha National Park was destroyed by lions. A population crash in lions in the Ngorongoro crater during the 1960s resulted in an increase in African wild dog sightings, only for their numbers to decline once the lions recovered. As with other large predators killed by lion prides, the dogs are usually killed and left uneaten by the lions, indicating the competitive rather than predatory nature of the larger species' dominance. However, a few cases have been reported of old and wounded lions falling prey to African wild dogs. On occasion, packs of wild dogs have been observed defending pack members attacked by single lions, sometimes successfully. One pack in the Okavango in March 2016 was photographed by safari guides waging an incredible fight against a lioness that attacked a subadult dog at an impala kill, which forced the lioness to retreat, although the subadult dog died. A pack of 4 wild dogs was observed furiously defending an old adult male dog from a male lion that attacked it at a kill. The dog survived and rejoined the pack. Spotted hyenas are important kleptoparasites and follow packs of African wild dogs to appropriate their kills. They typically inspect areas where African wild dogs have rested and eat any food remains they find. When approaching African wild dogs at a kill, solitary hyenas approach cautiously and attempt to take off with a piece of meat unnoticed, though they may be mobbed in the attempt. When operating in groups, spotted hyenas are more successful in pirating African wild dog kills, though the latter's greater tendency to assist each other puts them at an advantage against spotted hyenas, which rarely work cooperatively. Cases of African wild dogs scavenging from spotted hyenas are rare. Although African wild dog packs can easily repel solitary hyenas, on the whole, the relationship between the two species is a one-sided benefit for the hyenas, with African wild dog densities being negatively correlated with high hyena populations. Beyond piracy, cases of interspecific killing of African wild dogs by spotted hyenas are documented. African wild dogs are apex predators, normally only fatally losing contests to larger social carnivores, although anecdotally Nile crocodiles may opportunistically and rarely prey upon a wild dog. When briefly unprotected, wild dog pups may occasionally be vulnerable to large eagles, such as the martial eagle, when they venture out of their dens. That's it for now, and thank you for watching. If you liked our video, please give a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos.